Biology chapter Control and Coordination. In this video, we are going to learn 8 mark questions, 2 mark questions, and 1 mark questions. So, you can see these all topics we are going to cover in this video. So, we are going to learn these all. So, let's start. Control and Coordination. 8 mark questions. Remaining 8 mark questions, extra 8 mark questions also we are going to learn. Now, first see this. First question. How do you prove phototropism in plants? You have to prove phototropism in plants. Aim to prove that plants grow towards light. Materials: a potted plant like a young bean plant. Cardboard box, light source. These are the required things. Procedure: place the potted plant in a dark box with a small hole on one side for light to enter. Keep the light source outside the hole. Observe the direction in which the shoot grows over several days. Observe, Observation: the shoot bends and grows towards the light. You can see in this picture also, it is bended, right? So, the shoot bends and grows towards the light coming through the hole. Result: the experiment shows that plants grow towards light, demonstrating positive phototropism. This is the activity, lab activity. So, second one, describe the structure of neuron and explain its function. Structure and functions of neuron you have to write. See this. This is the neuron. Structure of a neuron. A neuron is structural and functional unit of nervous system. It is having three main parts: cell body, dendrites, axon. It contains nucleus and cytoplasm, controls the cell's activities. Dendrites, these short branched extensions from the cell body. You can see from this picture also, from this diagram. Um, Axon, long thin fiber that carries impulses away from the cell body. It is covered with myelin sheath and to speed up impulse conductions. Ends in axon terminals to connect to the other neurons or muscles. So learn this. Next, function function of neuron: receive, transmit, and process nerve impulses. This is the function of neuron. Dendrites receive signals. Cell body process. See, dendrites receive signals, then cell body processes them. At last, axon sends them to other neurons, muscles, or glands. Okay, learn this properly. Now, third question: what are the differences between movements in a plant and movements in our legs? Movements in plants, movements in legs. We have to write differences. Usually slow, usually fast. Slow, fast. Movements are growth based or due to trigger changes. Movements are due to muscle contraction. Here, muscle contraction. Here, growth based or due to trigger changes. No energy from muscles. Muscles provide energy. Types include tropism, tropism, and nastic movements. Types include walking, running, jumping. Controlled by hormones. Here, controlled by nervous system. Non-voluntary. This is voluntary or reflex. Examples: bending towards light, kicking a ball. No joints or bones involved. Here, Bones and joints help in movement. So these are the differences between movements in plants and movements in legs. So learn this properly. Fourth question. How does chemical coordination occur in plants? Plants coordinate their activities like growth, flowering, and responses to stimuli using chemicals called hormones. Coordinate their activities using chemicals called hormones. Plant hormones are chemical messengers that are produced in one part of the plant and transported to the other parts where they act. Examples of plant hormones and their functions: auxin, gibberellins, cytokines, ethylene, abscisic acid. So learn these points. Fifth question. How are voluntary actions and reflex actions different from each other? Voluntary actions controlled by brain. Here controlled by spinal cord. Conscious, unconscious, or automatically. Slower, faster. Can be planned, cannot be planned. Involves thinking, does not involve thinking. Walking, example. Here is blinking is example. Can be stopped or modified. Here cannot be stopped. Helps in learning new skills. Protects the body from danger. Sixth question. Differentiate stimulus and response. Any change in environment that can be detected by an organism. Here, reaction of organism to stimulus. Detect by sense organs or respirators. Here, formed by muscles or glands. Can be internal or external. Here, follows the stimulus immediately or after some time. Example, touching a hot object. Example, pulling hand away. Response, stimulus response. Seventh question. What are the differences between the respirator and an effector? Respirator. Uh, sorry. Receptor effect. Sorry. Receptor and effector. Receptor decode. Sorry for all this. What are the differences between a receptor and effector? Detects stimuli from the environment, produces a response to the stimulus. Here detects and here produces a response. Found in sense organs, found in muscles or glands. Sends information to the nervous system. Here acts on the instruction. Examples: eyes, ears, skin. Example: muscles pulling hand, glands secreting hormones. Eighth question. Compare the coordination process in plants and animals. Plants, animals. Coordination is mainly chemical, hormones. Here, coordination is chemical plus electrical. Here, only chemical. Here, chemical plus electrical. Responses are slow, fast, controlled by plant hormones, controlled by brain, spinal cord, and hormones. Movements are growth based or trigger based. Here, muscle based. Movements are growth based or trigger based. Here, muscle based. Reactions are non conscious. Here, voluntary or involuntary. Pathway of coordination is through sap or diffusion. Here, pathway is through nerves and blood. Example: phototropism, gravity tropism. Example: running, blinking. Eighth, eighth point. Cannot respond quickly to sudden changes. Here, can respond immediately to changes. Ninth question. How the brain protected? Explain the parts in the brain. See this diagram. This is human brain. You can see here parts also. So we have to explain parts in the brain and how the brain protected. First, protection of the brain. The brain is protected by the skull, means bony case. Bony case. It is also cushioned, cushioned by cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, and three layers of membranes called megni- meninx. Three layers of membranes called meninx. Parts of the brain and their functions. See, these are the parts: cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, hypothalamus. Okay, these are the parts and these are the functions. Functions. Cerebrum controls voluntary actions, thinking, memory, speech learning, and senses. Cerebellum balance, posture, and coordination of movements are controlled. In this is medulla oblongata controls involuntary actions like breathing, heartbeat, swallowing, and digestion. Hypothalamus controls hunger, thirst, body temperature, and hormonal functions. What are the parts? See here: cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, and last is hypothalamus. These are the parts of the brain. 10th question. Compare the contrast nervous and hormonal mm, mechanism for control and coordination in animals. Nervous system, hormonal system. You have to write differences. You have to compare both. Uses nerve cells to transmit messages. Here, hormones secreted by glands. Messages are electrical and chemical. Here, chemical only. Very fast response. Here, slow response. Acts for short duration. Here, acts for long duration. Controls muscles and glands. Here, controls growth, metabolism, reproduction. Response is specific and localized. Here response is general and widespread. Example Example for nervous system. Pulling hand for from hot object. Here insulin controlling blood sugar. Stops immediately after stimulus ends. Here effects last longer even after secretion stops. 11th question. Read the following information and answer the following questions given below. So you have to read this. Here they given in table hormone, adrenaline gland, endocrine gland functions. Name the gland which has an effect on almost all body organisms. Is pituitary gland. Here you can see stimulates growth in all organs. So answer is pituitary gland. B. Which hormone helps in the development of sex organs in females? Answer is estrogen and progest- um, progesterone. C. Which hormone is secreted by the testosterone? Testosterone. You can see here. Okay. From this table only, we are going to answer these all. Now, last question. Which hormone regulates blood sugar level? Answer is insulin. Regulates blood sugar level. That is insulin. Okay. They asked hormone. So, you have to write hormone. Insulin. Regulates blood sugar level. If they are endocrine gland means, then you have to write pancreas. Now it's enough to write insulin. Insulin is the answer. 12th question. Difference between the involuntary actions and reflex actions. Involuntary reflex. See here, controlled by brain or spinal cord. Here, controlled only by spinal cord. Automatic but can influenced by brain. Here, automatic and cannot be controlled. Here, automatic but can influence means can control. Here, automatic but cannot be controlled. Example, heartbeat, digestion. Here, example, blinking, sneezing. Can be slow or continuous. Here, very fast. 13th question. Difference between reflex and walking. Reflex and walking. Automatic response to stimulus. Here, voluntary action controlled by the brain. Here, very fast. Here, slow. Does not involve thinking. Here, involves thinking and planning. Examples, blinking, sneezing. Example, walking, running. So, whatever we have learned previously, it can be repeated, but there will be some difference. Here we are comparing with walking and reflex. Here we are writing difference between involuntary actions and reflex actions like that. Okay, now 14th question. Read the following information and answer the following questions. By reading this, you have to answer these four questions. Name the hormones that promote plant growth. Answer is axins and gibberellins. B. What is the function of cytokinase? Answer stimulates cell division and growth of lateral buds. C. Which hormone helps in phototropism? Answer is auxin. Name the hormone responsible for wilting of leaves. It is abscisic acid. 15th question. Read the following information and answer the following questions. Read this table. Here they given tropic movements and stimulus. By reading table, we have to write this. What response do the root show towards the light and water? Answer. Root shows negative phototropism and positive hydrotropism. Tendrils grows towards the support. Which type of response is this? This stigmotropism means response to touch or support. Give an example for negative tropism. Answer stem growing upwards is an example of negative geotropism. D. Pollen tube grow towards ovules. Which type of movement is this? Answer. Pollen tubes exhibit hemotropism. Hemotropism is exhibited by pollen tubes. 16. Read the following information and answer the following questions. Here parts of the brain given, here function is given. So now read this question and answer. By reading this table, you are going to answer these questions. A. Which part of the brain helps in the identification of a vehicle coming in opposite direction? Answer. Cerebrum. B. Which part of the brain controls this salivation? Salivation. Answer. Medulla oblongata. Oblongata. Okay. Medulla oblongata. C. Which part of the brain helps us to walk on a narrow wall? Answer is cerebellum, controls balance and coordination. What is the function of midbrain? Midbrain function. Simple reflexes like change in the size of the pupil. Okay, here controls reflex actions of eyes and ears. 17th. Draw a neat labeled diagram of brain. So this is 17th. You have to draw brain and you have to label it neatly. You can see here. Okay, take screenshot and practice. Now 18th. Draw a neat labeled diagram of nerve cell. So this is nerve cell. Okay. Now 19th question. If you have a chance to meet a doctor, what questions will you ask to know about pancreas? To know about pancreas, what are the questions you are going to ask to the doctor? Okay. If you meet a doctor, what questions will you ask to know about pancreas? Whenever you meet a doctor, what questions will you ask? You can learn from here questions, okay? Question 20. What questions will you ask as endocrinologist to know about endocrine glands in human body? So these are the questions learned. 21st question. If you have a chance to meet a neurologist, what questions will you ask about mental health? So learn from here. Question 22. What questions will you ask about diabetes to a doctor? So learn from here. Okay. What is diabetes and its types? Like this, you can ask. What treatments are available for diabetes? So learn from here. 2 marks questions from this chapter. Question 23. What is the needed a need of taking iodine in food? Write the consequences of iodine deficiency in food. Need deficiency consequences. First need. Iodine is required to make thyroid hormones, which regulate growth and metabolism. Deficiency consequences can lead to dietary, goitry, so means enlarged thyroid gland, turned growth and mental retardation. So these are the needs and deficiency of consequences. So 24th question. How do you differentiate axon and dendrite? Axon, dendrite carries impulses away from the cell body. Here, impulses towards the cell body. Carries away, carries towards. Usually single long fiber. Here, short and branched. May be covered by myelin sheath, and here it is not covered by myelin sheath. sheath. So here ends in axon terminal. Here ends by joining cell body. These are the differences between axon and dendrite. Dendrite. Question 25. The person touched a hot object, immediately pulled his hand back. Which part of the nervous system was involved, and why did he pull his hand without thinking? Answer. So sorry. First question. You have read these lines, okay? Now we are going to answer. What is the function of part A? Means controls voluntary actions, thinking, and senses. What is the function of part C? Spinal cord controls the reflex actions and transmits messages between brain and body. Question 26. Why are some patients diabetes treated by giving injections of insulin? Answer. Their pancreas does not produce enough insulin. So injections helps regulate blood sugar levels. 27. What is synapse? This is very important, so learn this properly. What happens in the synapse? Answer. Synapse, the junction between two neurons. What happens? Means electrical impulse reaches the synapse. Chemical neurotransmitters are released. Impulse is transmitted to the next neuron. Electrical impulses reaches the synapse, and then chemical neurotransmitters are released. At last, impulse is transmitted to the next neuron. One more questions. Name the hormone responsible for phototropism in plants. Answer is auxin. 29. The gap between two neurons is called synapse. Just now we have learned. Okay. The junction between two neurons. This is gap between two neurons is called synapse. Question 30. Which part of the brain helps in riding a bicycle? Is cerebellum. What are the major functions of medulla oblongata? Obligata. Okay. If I pronounce strong, please ignore. Answer. What are the major functions? Functions are controls heartbeat, controls breathing, blood pressure, swallowing, coughing, sneezing, and vomiting. These are the major functions of medulla oblongata. 30. If cerebrum is damaged, which of the following may happen? Answer is person cannot recall memories. Okay. 33. What diseases what disease may be caused due to lack of iodine in our daily food? Got it. Okay. 34. Name the part of the brain that controls posture and balance of the body. Answer cerebellum. What will happen if all the functions of the human body are controlled by brain? Answer the brain will become overloaded and slow. Body will not respond quickly. Important functions may fail. Question 36. Which part of the brain regulates the hunger and thirst? Answer is hypothalamus. 37th question. Which plant hormone is responsible for the whittling and falling of leaves? Answer is abscisic acid. ABA. In short. Okay. 38. What will happen if reflex action does not occur in our body? Answer is we would get injured easily because the body will not respond quickly to danger. Question 39. Give an example of hormone inhibiting or promoting growth in plants. Answer is auxin promotes growth or abscisic acid ABA inhibits growth. Promotes growth, inhibits growth. What happens if the cerebellum is influenced by alcohol? Answer. The person loses balance, coordination, and body control. Movements become shaky. Okay. Remaining questions we are going to see now. First question. Write briefly about plant hormones. So learn from here. These are the types of the plant hormones: auxins, gibberellins, cytokinase, ethylene, abscisic acid. So learn from this. Question 2. How do the reflex response take place in animals? Explain with an example. So you have to draw also an example. So I'll zoom this. So learn this question also. Third question. Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Fourth question is about how is the brain protected? Explain its structure briefly. So protection of brain and structure of brain you have to explain in this. So learn this. Fifth question. How does our body respond when adrenaline is secreted into the blood? So learn these all. 2 marks questions you can see from here, right? Okay. Learn from here. To know we have completed all questions. Thank you for watching.